Good morning and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts, Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina, and myself, Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council Representative for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, first of all, I haven't done this in a while, but thank you for your service. Not only your service as an elected official, but also your service in our United States Army. I certainly appreciate a person who understands the value of giving of their time. So thank you for that, Mr. Floyd.
You okay?
I am.
Okay.
I'm going
I'm just,
somewhere with this.
I'm just asking. I'm just checking. I thought maybe you had taken your medication.
No, I took it this morning. Look, my vitamins. I took my vitamins. I took my vitamins this morning. Mr. Floyd, let me tell you something. What I realized over these last few days, I
Hmm.
realized that public service is not only an honor, but it is truly a sacrifice. And that is why I led with thanking you for your service. Because it is not only an honor to be elected, but it's truly a sacrifice. And I say that because when we come here and we have these discussions about how to understand politics, I think that it is important for everybody to really have a firm grasp of the fact that no matter what side you're on, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an unaffiliate, whether you're a part of the Libertarian Party, the Green Peace Party, the Green Tea Party, the Planet Earth Party, no matter what side you fall on, when you enter into the service of mankind through elected office, it is a sacrifice.
I agree with you, Tish. But but those who view us don't see the sacrifice that is being made, showing that we can help provide services to you, and
Absolutely.
be yeah, and really be your voice in meetings to represent you, to carry
Absolutely.
your wishes forward. But many of us experience the hammer approach when we carry the voice forward because you know I had I have a friend and I constantly tell him, remember, everybody don't like you, so
Yeah.
you can't make decisions based upon getting 100% of the people to agree with you. You just wasting your time.
Absolutely.
But if that's your goal, but I always say to you, teaching anybody, if that's your goal to waste time in that area, I support you.
It's your business and you can if you want to,
Yeah,
like Miss Brown said.
yeah, I
Mr.
support
Floyd, do you have any announcements for our audience today?
you. Now, other than Armstrong High School is going to have their banquet this coming Friday at 5 o'clock at the school that opened in Eastover.
Okay,
So
and for
I
people who
already
are
have
like me who are not from Fayetteville, we're not always privy to all the history. Please tell the people what Armstrong High School is.
back when you was being considered by your mother and father, it was an African American school like E. Smith and Chestnut.
Okay.
We had black. You don't remember that because you came into.
I read about it.
I know, but see, you came in at a different point in life.
I understand.
We paved the way for you, to attend the integrated school system. You
Absolutely.
but my school in Rocky Mountain, which is Booker T. Washington High School, uh, I was so proud when I got a book teach and my name was the fourth name in the book.
Why were you so proud? Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying when because now we have to explain this because now these new people they don't even have school books. So the way that it used to be was you got a school book and when it was assigned to you on the front page inside the cover there was lines in there
Yes, sir.
and you had to write your name in the book because we needed to be able to follow that this book belonged to you. And at the end of the year you had to turn your books back in.
Undamaged.
Exactly. And that is how they followed that was your book, was that your name was in it. So you're saying that you were the fourth student to have been assigned that book.
Now that then remind you now it was over the other side for 3 years.
I
Okay.
understand. I
Other
understand.
side for 3 years.
So am I understanding correctly when I hear you saying that you all in the black schools, you all received your resources as hand-me-downs from the white schools?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Floyd, what do you attribute now? Because see, here's the thing. Like I was watching a reel. I was scrolling through my Facebook page, and one of the reels popped up, and it was a middle-aged black woman, and she said that her and her father were watching the news one day, and he heard the newscaster say that nothing had changed for black people, that in all of the fights, nothing had changed for black people, and he got upset. And she asked him, well, why are you getting upset? If you wrote a book about all of this, what would you name the book? And so she said that they were asking, she was asking him, why are you upset about this? He said, I'm upset because she's saying that nothing's changed, but i went through I went through all of these years of life, and I was there, and she wouldn't be sitting in that newsroom if nothing had changed. There are people who wouldn't be able to do the things that they're doing if nothing had changed. She said, so what would you name your book? And he said, honey's busy. And Mr. Floyd, you know I'm on grandma duty. So so he said that he would name the book You're Welcome. And essentially what he was saying was that he wanted people to understand that there had been changes. So Floyd, with that being said, and you experiencing receiving hand-me-downs, do you think that we've made progress?
Teach by no doubt, and I mean no doubt, we have made progress, but the progress we have made seems like an eraser now is being utilized.
So let me ask you this question, because you were getting hand-me-down books, do you feel like you were adequately educated?
Today, I would say yes.
See, and that's and I don't think that it's about who's giving you something. I think it's about what you do with what you get.
I mean, when you look at it today, and you look at we had less,
And
but
we
there was
did more.
there was a
Yes.
great appreciation. There was
Yes.
a appreciation because
Yes.
the community was a community. Now, with those who perceive that they have arrived, have excluded you from the process. If you understand
Right.
what I mean, you're not
Absolutely.
important.
And
You,
Mr. Floyd, with this little, look at all that on my phone. With this little doohickey right here, we have access to more information in the palm of our hands
mhm.
at any given minute than we ever have at any point in history.
But then again, Tish, you
It's
know
all about what you do with it, because some people would rather get on this and scroll social media than to learn beneficial information. Go ahead, sir.
what? Well, that's one of the things that we face in our community is how media pump certain information to us to influence our decision making process, whether
Absolutely.
it's true or whether it's false. It's just like you know I know you haven't seen this, but it used to be Thunderbird and Richard Wine. Okay, it was sold in certain communities. Certain communities, it was sold in. Okay,
Absolutely.
and so it it's just like the people today. I'm sure you're guiding them today. With do you want to sell your home? Do you
Absolutely.
have property
And you
you
know that those are foreigners who are coming buying the United States up.
but but they also is using what was used in the past is zip codes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because if you look at our community, I know we're branching off, but if you look at 424, 425, we know that that's Pope Mill area back
Right.
in the day. So when
Right.
you start calling, you know that is an Asian community. And if you
Absolutely.
look at 867, 867, 864, we know that's over in the Riley Road area. 483 is
Right.
another 488 was but particular minority. So they utilize that in order to provide, I call it, good information on their behalf. Because
Absolutely.
they know that these are aging communities, so they think that you want to that's give them your property.
Absolutely. Mr. Floyd, let me ask you a question since you said that. And we have not touched any of our topics yet, but we're still in the opening phase of our program. Mr. Floyd, have you heard anything else about the mayor's development over at East of the River?
No, no. Again, I don't. I just think that it's good that you can get a piece of property rezoned, and if
But
you
has
can
anybody
develop.
mentioned, has anybody mentioned, I'm sorry to interrupt you, has anybody mentioned the possibility that the rezoning may have been illegal based upon the fact that the conflict of interest that may have existed or that may not have existed that prevented some council members from voting and that permitted others from voting? Like, are you hearing anything about that?
It doesn't matter, Tish. What I mean by it doesn't matter. You know, we really don't take that seriously. Once we vote upon that and and move forward, because if you really go back and look at it, uh, uh, just an ethic committee meeting where a person told the gentleman that you need to talk with my attorney. I mean, common sense would set in is that there's some relationship with the
There's a
decision
business
making process.
relationship here. And Mr. Floyd, we also haven't heard anything else about that. We've not heard any follow up about the ethics committee investigation into Mr. DJ Hare. Now we did hear that they dropped it, but we haven't heard anything else.
Well,
There's been
well,
no conversation about that. It's like things just disappear.
they just figure out that it's over with. But I do think that the committee itself, does not have what we call statutory authority,
Right.
but it does have the privilege to send for
A recommendation.
recommendation.
Hmm.
And it seems to me, if you make a decision like that, there should be some form of recommendation following following that. Is that
Absolutely.
whatever that the recommendation should be? You know,
Absolutely. And I this is why I had no interest in filing an ethics complaint regarding my allegations and why I continue to push for an external investigation by a party like the State Bureau of Investigations, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, or some other investigatory agency with the ability to actually have some teeth
well,
because the ethics committee has no teeth.
well, maybe you need to have a relationship with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services because they they looked at Mark Robinson and saw where his wife, had I think $132,000 was used improperly. But maybe if you had that kind of relationship, maybe you would have got the progress.
Right, right. And let me say this, I just wonder, I use the word witch hunt. I I wonder if this is a witch hunt and the timing is intended. We know how politics goes. You save your smoking gun until right before the election so you can try and damage your opponent as much as you possibly can because we see this happening with one of Josh Stein's biggest donors, and that is Jonathan Charleston and the involvement with DHHS in what was it, New Hanover County?
Do that. Oh,
But we don't see any investigation taking
teach,
place.
you, you know that they, teach. Come on, teach them. He just only received a payment of $3 million by one signature. Okay.
Which was against their policy, right? Which did not comply with the policy.
Yeah, but the gentleman signed it and got the lady to issue the check. But
Where's the investigation? Because
what about
Mark Robinson's
documentation?
wife is being investigated for a fraction of that amount. Where is the investigation?
I mean, it seems like to me. It seems like to me, this is the same agency now.
The
It's
same
the same
agency.
agency.
The
Okay.
same agency. And
I,
I think sometimes when we see these big numbers, Mr. Floyd, because our budgets operate with a very small portion of that, I think when we see these big numbers, we think that it's some huge egregious behavior. I think when you see an organization that has served in the capacity as Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's wife's organization served in, This is a small number, and it seems that it's probably some sort of a clerical error, not that it is some egregious attempt to steal from the American people. I will, if something comes out that proves otherwise, then most certainly I will stand corrected. But this is just my educated opinion: is that this is not what they are trying to make it seem to be in the face of
Well,
this election cycle.
let me say
I'll
to you,
get you
the
some.
same organization.
I'll get you some in just a second. Please go sit down, and I'll bring it to you when I can.
This
Okay.
is the
Hey,
same.
take this water with you. Go ahead, Floyd.
This is the same organization that one signature gave out millions of dollars.
Millions.
Of,
And
of
not just to attorney Jonathan Charleston, but to themselves as well. Gave themselves bonuses and all of these different things that were amounted to millions of dollars.
I mean, and think about it, is that it was said very clearly that it was done without the board approval. I'm not saying the work wasn't done. Now, I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that in order to do that,
There's
to
a process.
justify, there's a process,
There's a
and the
process.
full board and the board itself should have had a say so, in that transaction, or
Absolutely.
so
Just
it,
go
it,
ahead.
it's just politics, T.
But and that's the part that I want to make sure that people understand, because and just like when I look at, and I'll say when I'm looking at the presidential advertisements, their campaign uh commercials, we need to be taking these commercials with a grain of salt, because the commercials are intended to sway you emotionally. They're not based in fact. They take a fact, they twist it, and they make it what they need it to be in order to support their point and their candidate. And they're looking to evoke an emotional response from you, so that when you go into the ballot box in November, you feel emotionally charged to pick one candidate over another, or to avoid one candidate more than another. And I
Well,
need for our audience to really be mindful of that. And both sides are doing this. Both sides are doing this, and I need for our audience to be mindful of that, because when you see that, it should raise a red flag for you, and it should cause you to have to stop and ask yourself, what are they going to do for me? Because, see, Mr. Floyd, you always say you need a candidate that's going to be UPS, USPS, FedEx, or Amazon. They need to deliver. But if all you can deliver is an emotional attack on your opponent, and the reasons why I should not pick your opponent, you're not telling me what you're going to deliver for me.
well,
And
T,
that works because we're emotional, but it should not work because we shouldn't be.
I was at a place in this great United States, and I saw more commercials in that state than I have done, in my TV market.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I seen more, and I seen also is how you are trying to attract me. I mean, how you trying to get the male population on board, both parties, Democrats
Absolutely.
and Republicans, are there. And I looked at, whatever a governor or a president or a mayor or a chairman of the county board of commission has in place as his or her vision.
Right.
If you don't have the down ticket, I'm speaking of, the governor's race and the
Right.
president. If you don't have the down ticket support, then whatever you advertise that you would like to do is not attainable.
It's not
Even if you
attainable.
use executive order, one of the party is going to carry it into court.
Right.
Look
Absolutely.
at the court system. Will
Here
not
in North
blow.
Carolina, we have a Republican Supreme Court, a Republican dominated Supreme Court.
And the same thing with the U.S. You know, so they're going to be a challenge. And North Carolina, within the November election,
Hmm.
the way that the redistrict was drawn is it's going to have a 10-4 or 11-3.
Explain
person going
that.
to Raleigh. Okay, right now you have 7 Democrats and you have 7 Republicans as of today. Come November, they're guaranteed to pick up 3 seats,
The
which will give
Republican.
the Republicans, which will give the Republicans 10-4 or 11-3. With
Correct.
Don Davis district as being a swing district, which is the northeastern part of the state, which is a minority district, but it's a grassroots that you talk about all the time. I hear you talk about that, but you don't go there. I
I'm
mean,
not
you
going.
take a
I
bus
know
trip.
what you're talking about. You're talking about the Democrats talk about it all the time.
Well, I'm just saying they talk about the grassroots effort.
Right. But they don't go to the grassroots roots locations.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you would think that the executive branch, as the person has been in our state, let's say 15 plus time, you know, that you would look at the northeastern part of the state. As an example, on September the 27th or 24th of this month, Fayetteville State is going to play Elizabeth City.
Mm-hmm.
In Rocky Mount, North Carolina, there will be between 5,000 to 10,000 people attending that football game.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever is large in that area, people attend because they don't have the
Absolutely.
same thing as Raleigh, Durham, and Greensboro.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have not even been into that district. And that's the district that the person need the support in both chamber, the House and the Senate. But
Right.
I mean, you go to Raleigh, I mean, you got the same people. You go to Greensboro, all those districts are D plus districts.
And you're
So why
speaking
would
to
they
your
show?
audience that's already decided to vote for you. Mr. Floyd, let me ask you this question. What do you think about the fact that that Attorney General Josh Stein has refused to debate Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson?
Well, if you look at the polls, some say, well, I'm already leading, so why should I? I mean,
Right.
polls show that I'm leading, and so why should I debate? Okay,
Right.
polls show that. So polls show that he is leading, but what
But is it wise to rest on your lead and not debate your opponent?
I tell you what you do when you get a chance and see the former senator, I think from New York, Hillary Clinton. Ask her next time you see her. Okay, we
Uh,
all went to bed. We all went to bed knowing that she was
was
going
the
to be the first female president of these United
and
States.
woke up with a whole different viewpoint.
Yeah, a whole different viewpoint, you see.
They
But
said, look, they said Hillary was hot about that loss.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, she was hot about that thing.
but
Miss, I like to have hot sauce in my bag.
but if you look at it, if you look at it, we do well as Democrats in districts. We do well. But if you look at us running statewide, we don't fare well.
Right. I need to say this to our audience, and I make no apology. I have my grandson today. So when you see me muting and doing the get your butt back over there or go sit down, that is because my grandson is here and he does not have any regard for the fact that you and I, Mr. Floyd, are doing business. He just thinks that Honey is talking to Mr. Floyd and he can come talk to us whenever he wants to.
That's
So
the beauty of the child. That's the
and
beauty. That's
that's childhood, and I am not about to try and break that for him.
yeah.
But I do want to let y'all know that's what's going on. My attention is a little bit divided, but I'm still very laser focused on having this conversation. So, Floyd, back to what we were talking
Mm.
about. I just wonder. I will say that I think it is a mistake for the attorney general not to debate the lieutenant governor, because I think that for me as a voter, it says that you don't think you can stand on your merit or back your argument against your opponent, and that makes me question everything that I see you put out about him, because when we were growing up and even now as adults, Mr. Floyd, we have this thing of don't say it about me, say it to me. Give me an opportunity to defend myself. And he's not doing that. And I think and maybe it's cultural, maybe it's, I don't know, But I
maybe.
want to see them have a debate.
Well, I, again, Teach, when you look at the polls and the polls show you the polls now, the polls show you, but when you look at the demographic and the way that votes have turned out in North Carolina, it's a different picture.
You know, when I get those polls on my phone, you know what I do? I respond stop so that they can take me off of that. So there's a vast number of us who are not counted because
Well,
we're not participating in those polls.
well, Tisha, I'm a little bit younger than you, and I have yet to talk with any of my colleagues that I talk with that has been polled. Okay, if you understand what I mean,
I understand exactly what you mean.
I mean, that have been in one of those 900 that people say that they have been polled to get this sample 5.11,
Right.
5 point. I, I, I don't, I don't, I haven't spoken to one yet.
You don't know about
Yeah, I
that.
haven't spoken to one yet. Now, I'm not saying that they have not been contacted, but I think that persons, you know, uh, being in the poll sample, some people it's very important, and they want to talk about that. That's kind of
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Floyd, you brought this to my attention. So let's talk about it. The Cumberland County Board has updated their land use plan for one of the fastest growing areas in the county. What area is that, Mr. Floyd?
well. It just happened to be one of the areas that I have talked about ever since I've been around at Shaw Heights. It's part of that development, which is the northern part of the county.
Right. So, what are your thoughts about this? It says that the county commissioners have signed off on a new land use plan to guide future development in Linden, Shaw Heights, and Carvers Creek State Park in Cumberland County. What do you think about that, sir?
Well, I
First of
think
all, the fact that it's one of the fastest growing populations in the county says to me that people do have an interest in getting out of the city limits. Everybody doesn't want to be in the city limits.
what Tish went out, when we were negotiating the budget, and one of the things they wanted to do was to relocate the Department of Health and Human Services.
Mm-hmm.
Former Representative Billy Richardson and I, we spoke with the other House members that we would support the budget if they was, since they didn't want to put it, since the representative in Granville County didn't want uh, to move the Health and Human Services in his community because of the way the Democrat Party wanted him to respond. So
Mm-hmm.
we said, let's move it. Bill and I, we said, let's see if we can't negotiate to move it at exit 65.
Mm-hmm.
Exit 65 is the northern exit going towards Harnett County.
Right.
Now, that's the area that they are talking about, basically, but they didn't put Godwin in it.
Mm-hmm.
But my point I'm saying to you, Tish, is that Godwin, that little community up there, is getting 100 plus housing.
Yeah.
Okay. And these individuals are going to be younger than 40.
Yeah,
So,
because this is what it says. The population is relatively young, with more than half of the residents under 40. I love that they still call that 40-ish age
mhm,
young. I really appreciate that. Thank you to
mhm.
whoever wrote this article. And since 2010, the area has seen a 9% increase in population, which is higher than Cumberland County's growth rate of 5%. And there are about 17,000 residents living in the approximately 38,000 acres that make up the north central area.
Well, Tish, take this in agreement. If I can have accessibility, meaning infrastructure, water and sewer,
Right.
and 295 to move me in and out of the community,
Hmm.
then why should I pay you taxes? You live in the city. So
Right.
why should I pay city?
And they're getting ready to get a new titanium plant out that direction, which means more access to jobs. You
Mhm.
still have access to the Fort Bragg, aka Fort Liberty area. You still can get into Fayetteville with ease. You can get to Raleigh much easier. So if you decide you want to commute to work in Raleigh, like it's a centrally located area.
Now, bear in mind that the tax base is between Wake County and Cumberland County is different. For under 40, getting from exit 65 to Wake County is nothing but a pit stop about 35 minutes drive.
Right.
At 70, at 65 and 70 miles an hour.
How do you think that the residents who live there already are going to feel about this? Because again, many people move to that area for a more rural experience of life. So now that we're talking about, like, this is what they said. They're the this was mainly just the need for having a mix of uses, mix of density of uses to for the housing. So that when you hear mixed use housing, you hear apartments, you hear condominiums, you hear more density. So people have moved out there to experience more space. And now the land use plan is calling for increasing the density of the population. What do you think that the people who live there already are going to think about this?
That I mean, anytime you change the lay of the land, you're going to have some resistance. I mean,
Right,
that's just part of part of growth. But you have to look at it that individuals under 40, don't mind the travel, because it's just a pit stop. Consider it as a pit stop for them, especially when
right,
they can get more for less and still can go to Raleigh within 30 minutes, can
right.
come to Fayetteville within 30 minutes. So, it's just like me where I am going to Walmart out by the mall, a pit stop.
Right.
It's just a pit stop. I mean, I don't go that way that often though, because it's
Me
just
neither,
too
sir.
much traffic.
Not if I can help it.
It just,
Not if I can help it.
but there, so when you look at it, it's good. But when you look at that area again, and they're talking about, I think it said a food hall, out.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So that's more in that Shaw Heights area. So yeah, and let's be realistic, Mr. Floyd. This is all happening on our side of town.
Well,
This include you're always talking about how they do 301, but this is happening. They're talking about this. This affects our side of town because our neighbors are Shaw Heights.
well, our neighbors are sure high, but you look at the development that they're truly talking about is All American Freeway to your left going to Fort Liberty. That's but Shaw
But
Heights.
not just that. Also, if you turn that corner and go up, like toward where that new 7-Eleven and the Bojangles is
Mm-hmm.
On Shaw, not Shaw Road. What is that? Santa Fe Road, Santa Fe, because that's where that military business center sits. So it's all up and in there.
But you gotta let's be realistic, T. How much can you feed? See what we are doing here in Fayetteville. I mean, we got a population of Cumberland County about 348,000. Okay, and you throw Fort Liberty in there, it increased the population. But we don't have the infrastructure to bring. You know, every time you look at, there's another food source service popping up.
Yeah, and I think
Another food service is a gas station.
you're spot on. You're spot on because I was sitting here thinking when you asked that question, I was like, well, I'll drive to Raleigh to go to Morgan Food Hall. But the reality is, excuse me, I'm not driving to Raleigh to go to Morgan Food Hall. I'm up in the area for something else, and I
Mhm.
just choose to go eat there when I'm there.
Yes.
Like I don't make a concerted trip just to go to Morgan Food Hall. So the same would be said for this food hall. What else are we going to have that's a draw. But I think what Murray is saying is the what else he's gonna have is housing. So it's gonna be
A
like
mixed development.
these
Yes.
are your food choices if you live in this area. You don't have to drive over across town. You can just walk outside, which is really smart in the grand scheme of things because people are looking for those experiences like what you see. I think it's in Chapel Hill where you've got a movie theater, you've got restaurants, you've got grocery shopping, you've got medical facilities, all nestled in with a community, and it was developed that way so they are truly centralized and self-sustainable, and it's a very walkable footprint. I think if that's the vibe that they're looking for in this area, that might not be such a bad idea. But Floyd, I'm with you. How much can you feed people? But this is why we're one of the most unhealthiest counties in North Carolina, because we just have food.
We have food, and then again, you know, we have food and we have gas stations.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you're
You know,
gonna drive to get your food.
I just can't say- I mean, you know, when you look at the number, I think Sheik said it's going to be a 6 or 8. Circus K is growing. 7-Eleven indicated they're going to be up about 3 or 4. And then we have this other one. I forgot the name of that one. But it's coming to Fayetteville. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then again, when you look at all the food and everything, we're talking about a salary base of about 46,000. Some people say between 46 and 54,000 as the income level. But bear in mind, and that's why there, if you make $60,000 a year, my friend is going to get
Oh,
20,000.
absolutely.
Okay, and you better pay him,
Yeah, because ears don't play.
and you better
IRS
pay him.
does not play, honey.
Okay,
Okay.
so you only got 20. You only got 40,000, and what they said these units are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of thousand, $1,200 plus. So
Right.
roughly, that's about 18,000 from your $40,000 that
Paycheck.
you have. And then
Absolutely.
on top of that, you got a lovely car payment.
And
You know
those
what's
are
it?
running, car payments are running from 7 to like 14, depending on what kind of car you drive.
You see, so
So
you're
that's
talking
another
about
9 to 18,000. So you only have a couple dollars left.
so you don't have that much money to eat.
Right.
Now now one thing that I would love to do if my parents were living, I would love to move in with
Look, we, the parents of adult children, say for all to all adult children, go find your own place to stay. We don't want you to come live with us.
It's cheaper though, Teach. It is cheaper
Absolutely,
for me.
absolutely. And we most certainly will have you if it's a matter of that or you being on the streets. As long as you're not a problem, we'll have you. But don't make us your only solution. Make us your
You
last.
are you are the solution because I can live free and whenever mom cook, okay, I don't get you cook once a week. You know what I mean?
That's one less meal I gotta go buy.
I mean, and I just have my same room that I grew up in. You see what I'm saying? You know, same.
And if
And
you
I
want to
don't
be
care what.
grown up, you just take that out the house, go be grown up, and then come back home, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, so when you look at it, though we have all these things, but what people don't know, it is the cost of living, Keith, that that actually drive all these things. Sure,
Absolutely.
you can pay $1,600 a month rent, but at the same time you pay
Absolutely.
16, another 1,400 car payment. Come on, look at the math.
Absolutely. But this is so, and I think this is such a valid question. I'm going to take it back to the national election. I think it's such a valid question when we have the vice president saying that she's going to fix all of that when elected. And the question is being asked, how are you going to fix it when the administration that you're a part of essentially caused this?
But
And I
teach,
think that that's a great question to ask and which deserves to be answered, which is why I believe that we also need to have these debates so that people can ask these questions and we can see what the answers are going to be.
teach, if I don't, whichever party, into the White House, you you are going to be the one that make the adjustment. It's
Oh,
always
absolutely.
going to fall on the working or the middle class. The poor
Absolutely.
cannot pay any taxes, and the rich are going to pass the taxes on to you.
Right on down to us.
You see, so irregardless. I mean, if you say price gouging or whatever, you know, that corporation is going to pass that whatever increase it is going to pass that increase. I was at a community where a bottle of water was between $5.95 to $8.25. Okay,
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
Mr. Floyd, what community were you in?
Yeah, I just won't say teach. but when I
That's a
see,
lot.
I know it teach. I,
Um, ex-
I mean, but people were paying the price. But
that's a
saw
lot.
me, I saw a Walgreens, okay,
That's a
that
lot.
I could get $12 for $6 and some odd cent. I said, well, it makes sense for me to buy $12 from Walgreens,
That's a
okay,
lot of money.
than to buy one bottle. You see, and so
That's a lot. I'm gonna just keep saying that's a lot of money because that's a lot of money, and it makes me uncomfortable to think about how much money that is because that's a lot of money.
even if you look
Because
at it,
that's $8. Listen, that's when my daughter went to Turks and Caicos. That's how much they were paying for a bottle of water at Turks and Caicos. So that's because they had to import everything in. If you're
yeah.
right here in the United States, there's no reason that a bottle of water should cost you $8.
But teach when you look at teach, it's the market, it's the area, that you in, and the amount that people can afford. Well, participate in. I'm not saying afford, can
Yeah,
participate in. So when you really look at the fact that if you use executive privilege, both at the state level or at the national level, somebody's going to sue you.
absolutely. Hey, hey, hold on, Mr. Floyd. Alexander,
You know,
we bought him a drum set. He was about to start turning up, Mr. Floyd.
that's good. That that that's good.
Yeah,
That is
because
good.
see, but even when we talk about inflation, even when it comes to children, you feel it because the things that you used to take your children to do, like we used to put them in activities or we take them to go do things. And now those things are so expensive that a lot of these parents can't afford to do those things.
Well, that is what I'm saying. I mean, so it goes back to the point. We are going to continue to be a service-driven community.
Yeah.
That one thing that we are going to provide is services, and like I mentioned to you,
And food,
about
food
yeah,
and gas stations.
yeah, and to be a shop between here and Wilmington, between Raleigh and Wilmington, Fayetteville is the metropolitan city. Between those points, you
Well,
know.
Mr. Floyd, I want to go back to what you said about parents letting their children reside with them, and how I said, well, if the options are homelessness or come stay with me, then maybe yeah, come stay with me. But our county is trying to do something about. First of all, let me ask a question.
Hmm?
In your estimation, do the county and the city of Fayetteville work well together?
Not since I've been here.
Okay, so we see that the city of Fayetteville has the Day Resource Center that is supposed to serve the homeless community. Now, the county is creating the Homeless Support Center.
Hmm.
Doesn't that sound like a duplication of a Day Resource Center?
Well. Let me ask you a question. Then. Since you like to ask me questions, what's the difference between a county call center and a city call center?
Okay, because this to me is that all over again.
Since you asked me the question, I mean, and the only thing
There's no
connecting the two,
difference. There's no difference. There's
that
no difference. And Mr. Floyd, the difference is this time more people should be outraged about the fact that the incompetency or the inability of the city and the county to coexist in the space of governance amicably cost us so much freaking money.
well, teach now. Wait a minute, teach now. Wait a minute now. Let's calm down a little bit now.
Okay, I'm gonna calm
You
down.
got to take in consideration that at least the county is going to ask you how it should be formed. I'm just saying, come on, teach. The city didn't ask you. The city didn't even ask the county that they provide in county services, but build a day center. And
I
who's
think
going to
that the
provide the
county
services?
manager and
Huh?
the city manager need to get their acts together. They need to get in a room and they need to stop letting their boards screw over the citizens that elected them, and they need to find a way to make these projects
But
move
see,
forward and
I like the way
coexist.
I like the way the county is moving forward because the county did ask you, should it be a campus style or should it be a two-story facility?
Well, let me
You
say this.
you was
I
on the
think that the
council,
county should
you didn't even ask me.
the
You didn't,
county should go and visit. I think it's in San Antonio. There's a center there. They should go and visit that center. It is amazing. It's phenomenal. It is what I was explaining to the city when I said, look, if you're going to build something, build this model on a smaller scale because it works. But if we just keep I'm sick of seeing the county and the city duplicate the same thing and not work together. Like I'm sick of it.
what Tish, you got to realize, Tish, you, you, you know, some of us have pet projects. I remember I was in a meeting at Kingdom Impact, and we were talking about economic development in the Murchison Road area, and two council members came was there, and they told us that we have to support the building of the baseball stadium in that area because certain development said they weren't going to build in the Murchison Road area. So it's the same thing, Tish, about this homeless thing. You
And
know,
how sick are the
certain development.
residents on B Street of people putting everything that targets the homeless community right smack dab in their
Well, like
community?
I said, Tish, consolidation. Okay, you go through the day center, you walk a couple of blocks. I mean, the homeless shelter a couple of blocks. You right at the day center. Now, I don't think the day center is open on the weekend. But you still homeless on the weekend?
I don't know what they're doing with the day center. I don't know what they're I really don't. And I'll say this. I think that to the credit of the county, this encompasses sheltering the unhoused, which I think is a necessity. I like the fact that it's a low barrier for entry, which means no matter what your background, you're not going to be turned away. I think that's wise. This reminds me more of the model in San Antonio than does our day resource center. I think the city failed with the day resource center. I think we should have minded the business that pays us, and that is not health and human services. I think we should leave health and human services up to the county, and we should focus on city business, and we should partner with the county, and we should be able to write if we get funds and we can sign a check and give it to the county and say, hey, here's to help you do XYZ, then we should do that. But we need to figure out a way for us to stop wasting money, wasting time, wasting resources, playing around with the people's pocketbooks, and do what we do well and let the county do what they do well. Maybe if we wouldn't have been so busy trying to build a day resource center, we would have been able to execute the economic development projects that we have on the table that are still unfinished a little bit better.
But
There,
see,
I said it.
I mean, you have to look at certain members have pet projects.
Yeah, but you can't, if you're on the city council, your pet project can't be health and human services related. If that wants to be your pet project, you need to run for the board of county commissioners.
Well, you know, the pet project is there with a daycare center, and I think what was it, over $5 million to
That's
operate.
so let me say this. I don't see I think that when you're talking about the economic sustainability of your workforce, investing in childcare, on-site childcare for your workforce is a different conversation. That's not necessarily health and human services. That's more economic based because that becomes a benefit of the job.
But who can provide that service though? I
Well,
mean,
see,
who in the city? Who
that's
in the city has that responsibility?
That's a good question, Mr. Floyd. And I think that the way you look at something like that would really have to do with it would be a it would be you'd have to be creative.
What? Not. I mean, you have to look at it, T. I mean, you know, you ask Larry, is he gonna hire a plumber to do carpentry work?
Well, but here's the thing that you could
Okay.
say though. But here's the thing that when we talk about childcare, now this is from a parent's perspective that has worked. If I'm going into and let's just use XYZ Corporation. If I'm going to work at XYZ Corporation, And as a part of my compensation package, they say we have on-site childcare. That may that may be the definitive decision maker for me choosing XYZ Corporation over ABC Corporation as my future employer. Now, when it comes to who's providing the child care, that's a different question. And that may need to be in concert with an agency like DHHS who falls under the county. So, most certainly, again, it takes us right back to the dialogue of work with each other.
Well, Tish, let me ask you another question then. You served on the city council.
I did honorably. Yes, I did.
Now,
Mr. Floyd, wait before you say anything. Mr. Floyd,
yes.
what a privilege to be able to say, yes, I did honorably. Yes,
Well,
I did. Go ahead, sir.
I appreciate that, but it looked like your agency, street, garbage,
Are
fire.
all falling by the wayside.
Okay. Now, I don't see the 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 other is provided by the county.
Absolutely.
Okay, by the county. So I think that you know it's critical that you look at what areas, what area that you service.
Mind the business that pays you. Yes.
You know,
Mind the business that pays you. Stay out of other folks' business. We are not a health and human services provider, the city of Fayetteville. And I say this every time we have this conversation. I will never forget when Nat Robertson went on Good Morning Fayetteville in 2017 and did an interview, and he made the mistake of saying the quiet part out loud. He was asked about homelessness, and he said that homelessness was not a city problem, and everybody lost their marbles when he said that, because they did not understand that what he was in effect saying was homelessness does addressing homelessness does not fall under the umbrella of city services. Now, he could have said it like that and probably would have gained more favor than saying it's not a city problem.
what Teach? Let me ask you a question. Uh, you know, where is the city of Fayetteville located?
In Cumberland County,
Okay,
in the state of North Carolina, in the
then
United States of America.
that means that there's certain the county itself supposed to
Provide,
provide all services. Okay, all service. Municipality pops up to say that I can do it better than you.
right,
Okay, I
right,
can do it better than you. But actually, the services is supposed to be provided by the county. And,
absolutely.
and and when you look at it, when you look at Godwin, Falcon, Stedman, and all of those, you know, they're just saying, and Eastover, by having their sanitary districts, you know, where they wanted water and sewer separate and apart. So they grew, but there was a conversation between Eastover and the city of Fayetteville, is where the city, the corporation line stops. Okay, so you know when you look at the homeless, that's the county. That's the county. Now we
You get
want to
no
participate.
argument from me, Mr. Floyd. You get no argument from me about that. None
Yeah,
whatsoever. And we need to let the county do what the county does well. Even the conversation that's being had right now about the county's shelter service it just makes more sense than it ever did coming from the city of Fayetteville, because that is their wheelhouse.
well, I still say the same thing that I'm always talking about. And before you say this, I like the project, you know, that we previously talked about, like the 10 condos. They say
Yeah,
they're going to have an elevator. My problem has been is that you need to concentrate on things within your parameter. As building a 4-story garage, and you want me to go up on the 4th floor and park my car and walk back down. Now,
Mr.
what if
Floyd,
I
you
build
make a
another
lot
day
of
with two
sense.
floors, two floors, and they were required to have an elevator?
You make a lot of sense, sir. I cannot argue with you.
They had 2 stories, 2 floors, beautiful elevator.
I cannot argue with you. Mr. Floyd, I love our community. I love Fayetteville. I love our airport. I love flying out of the Fayetteville airport. Listen, this may be a little vanity. Father, forgive me if this is vanity. I love walking into the airport and looking at those plaques from the renovation and seeing my name on the plaque. I say, look, you ain't got to like me, but when you fly, you gonna see my name. I love the work that has been done at
Mhm.
our airport. I love the monitor that has replaced that peeling painted wall near baggage claim. I love the work that has been done at our airport. I love the investments that are being made into the transportation infrastructure in our community. I'm scratching my head about this because when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, amazing!" So now what you're saying is, if we want to take an international flight, are we getting ready to be designated as an international airport? I was like, oh, that's a huge jump. And then I kept reading and I realized that that was not the case. Mr. Floyd, what is going on with our local airport?
I think, Keith, as you said, I think anytime you can expand, it's great. Anytime that you can expand, and with the expansion that has been made over the years, you know, you know, Washington is considering making that a international airport. You know,
No,
no,
no, that's
for the military.
oh, okay.
For the military now.
Because I was like,
I
we are
mean, but
not
it's
getting
great.
ready to go to Greece directly from Fayetteville. What is happening, Mr. Floyd, is it sounds like, you're prior military. So the space A flights and the any flight that's coming in from overseas, it sounds like instead of them having to fly into Raleigh and then fly from Raleigh to Fayetteville, it sounds like they will be able to come directly into Fayetteville on a military aircraft.
Mhm. What to teach? What you have to look at expansion take different phases. As it relates to growth. If it is able to accommodate military flights, okay, which is much larger plane and require a much larger landing field, then you will see other investment take place. You know, because you may see an additional air service personnel, I mean, come in, which would help with the rates at the airport because our airport is a regional airport. And
Hmm.
you look at the dollar value that caused you to fly out of Fayetteville, Raleigh, or Greensboro, okay, as an example, because all of our flights, based upon the regional concept, is going to go into a hub.
Right.
But you can have lower fares if you have more service providers.
Yeah, but Mr. Floyd, again, I mean, specifically speaking to this. So I hear what you're saying, but what is this preparing us for? Because you and I, we talking about this
Growth,
a little bit in prep. So what is having military
growth.
international flights flying into our airport? What is that prepping us for?
It is prepping us for expansion and increased service base. Okay?
Okay.
That's what the concept may lead to. But the other question of it is, what will be flying into our airports that are going to be our airport that's going to be transferred to Fort Bragg that cannot be flown directly into Fort Liberty. I mentioned Fort Bragg for Fort Liberty, but
Yeah,
it's a, but it's
I
an
still wonder
opportunity.
what I still wonder what the prep is, because I think that when you start militarizing, when you start militarizing, I don't know, Mr. Floyd. I have to sit with
Teach
this
when
for a
we
little
had teach. I know that when we had Desert Storm, my church is somewhat over the flight path
bit. Hmm.
of Fort Liberty and at that time Polk Air Force Base.
Okay.
So there was all sorts of planes flying in and out of the airport. I
Okay.
mean, onto the base.
Okay.
So it's no it's no different
Flying onto the base or flying into the Fayetteville Regional Airport.
onto the base.
Right, because there's a flight path on Fort Liberty at Pope
Yeah,
Airfield.
it's
So again, the question for me raises, why are we now Why the shift?
Well, Tish, you have to look at growth in any direction that you possibly can. And
Yeah,
since
but if
the military,
you have an airfield already that can receive international flights, why do you need to militarize your airport?
well, it's when you look at it, Tish, my my concern there is that you can help me expand my
Okay,
airport,
so I guess we just
become
need
more
to keep
competitive.
watching. Is that what you're saying? Just keep
Yeah, I
watching
mean,
and see what comes of it.
yeah, it'll help my airport grow, help my community grow at no cost to the taxpayer. Now, at one time, some of your people wanted to sell my airport.
Um, that was Attorney Jonathan Charleston.
I'm just saying, you
That
know. So, but you can
was
see
a
how
conversation
rapid.
that was allegedly happening between Attorney Jonathan Charleston and the mayor, this mayor, Mayor Mitch Colvin, which again is why. Listen, I just always question it when we talk about White House ties. You and I both know that someone who's tied to Jonathan Charleston's office is tied to the White House as well. So the question begs to be answered: Why this militarization?
Well, again, T, it's an opportunity for economic growth at no cost to the city.
Well, Mr. Floyd, we just
Yes,
gonna we just gonna have to wait and see.
well,
I
T.
I think that I've given this podcast the hour that I can give it today because clearly my grandson has lost patience.
Well,
So
thank you, T.
I need for you to wrap us up. You tell us what your final words are, and then I'm gonna do the same, and then I'm gonna go tend to him.
Come November the 5th, look at UPS, Amazon, FedEx, okay, before you cast your vote.
So who can deliver?
Who can deliver?
Who can deliver. And I thank you all for bearing with me as I prioritize. I'll always put my family before anything else. And so thank you for well, not before God, family, and then everything else. But I appreciate you allowing me to prioritize in that way. Mr. Floyd, I always enjoy doing this podcast with you. There have been, and I've told the people this many times, and I've told you this, there have been many times where I've thought, I don't want to do this. And it's every time I sit down with you, I realize more and more how very much I want to do this. So thank you for that. I need for you to remind everybody about the podcast that you're doing on WIDU, where they can find you at what time and what day.
Well, it varies. We try to fill in the gaps, so sometimes you don't know, and we sort of like in the military, we on call.
On call, okay. Well, just stand by and we'll be tuning in. Would you like to come and say goodbye to everybody since you just keep jumping up here? Say bye.
Bye.
Mr. Floyd, we will catch you on the next episode. And everybody, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and follow. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
Mr. Floyd,
Bye bye.
always a pleasure.